Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Cruising your way next, Off 90. The Unity Project comes to Austin. We talk to a writer. And we joined the Yves Lambert trio for the last time this season. It's all coming up next, Off 90. Hi, I'm Barbara Keith. Thanks for joining me on this trip, Off 90. Unity is a circular arrangement of 32 poles that look like flagpoles. Each pole is labeled with an identifier. For example, I'm a parent, or I speak English as a second language. Participants tie yarn to each pole with which they identify until they create a canopy of interconnectedness.
So 4th Avenue Fest started last year. It is an arts and culture and music kind of festival, canoes and kayaks in the lake. I'm Julie Kleinfelter, and I am the director of the Austin Public Library in Austin, Minnesota. I ran across this Unity project, and it is an interactive art project, and I thought it'd be perfect for the 4th Avenue Fest. So I brought it to the committee to see if they were interested in the library finding the funding to be able to do it at 4th Avenue Fest. So the Unity project is an interactive public arts project. It consists of 32 poles around a center pole, and each pole signifies a different identifier, such as I like cats, or I like sports, or I live in my own home. And the people who come in pick the identifiers that match them best and map that out in yarn in the project, and then it all gets pushed up to the top and creates this kind of a picture of the community. I was at a camp last summer with about 1,300 teenagers, and this was a project that they did there. And I remember thinking that this was something that would really fit well in Austin. One of the things the library has worked on this year is a community collaboration grant. And it was all about diversity and inclusion and equity. And what I liked about the Unity project is it's kind of looking at diversity and inclusion and equity from the flip side, at the way that we're all the same, the way we're all united in the things that we have in common instead of just our differences. So I thought that that was something that fit in really well with what the community has kind of been working on as a group anyway. One of the reasons I picked the Unity project was because I had seen it done somewhere else, and I had seen how effective it was. One of the things that I liked about it was that it created conversation, and the people that did the project would then stand around and watch other people do the project and would have meaningful conversations with people that they'd maybe never met before. So it created a conversation piece. And those conversations kind of went on throughout the week that it was up, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to replicate that here, that because the Unity project's going to be up for several days, that people who maybe see it tonight at 4th Avenue Fest will talk to their families about it and bring them back later in the week, and that it will create kind of that conversation about how we're similar in, with people that we've never met before, maybe look different from us, and all the ways that we're the same. What I'm hoping people will take away is that sense of we are a unique town, we have a lot of diversity, but there are so many ways that we are similar. People can look different than you and act different than you, but when it comes down to the things that they believe in or the things that they care about, a lot of times that can be the same, and those similarities are what make people feel a little closer to people that they don't know and makes those conversations easier.
You might have seen Nicole Nfonoyim-Hara as the host of the KSMQ program Our Town. Nicole also writes fiction, especially stories that involve immigrant characters, or children of immigrants, searching for their identity. Nicole herself is a member of the diaspora of which she writes. We find out why, as a writer, she stays very active in her community.
Really happy to be able to call her a friend and a sister and a queen. Nicole Nfonoyim-Hara.
So I've been a writer, I think, almost as long as I could write, and it's something that I've always loved to do. I'm an anthropologist by training, and so that has a lot of writing, a lot of essays, and a lot of nonfiction writing about people's culture and people's experiences and things like that. And then when I moved to Rochester a couple of years ago, I sort of made a commitment to kind of pull out some of the short stories I'd been working on, for a few years, and some of the fiction writing that I really loved, and to really commit myself to that. My mentor is Leslie Neka-Arima, and she tears apart my work in a wonderful way, which is great. So my relationship with Leslie is one that's really honest and frank, and she, in the first meeting I had with her under my grant year earlier this year, she was like, well, we know you can write the hell out of a sentence. Let's get to some of the things that you need to work on. He pressed into fellow passengers, feeling skin on skin, his sweat mingling with sharp odors of street food and bodies and temple incense. He got lost. He played charades with drivers to find his way back in the afternoons. The tempo passed Chetak Circle, leading onto the house with the pink geraniums. The house described in the letter whose every word he now knew by memory. Toni Morrison once talked about how characters sort of came to her kind of like spirits, and they sort of pulled up a chair and started talking. And in a way, I feel that way sometimes. I picture my characters in this apartment building, and sometimes they call on me for a house call. And so that's kind of how they come. A lot of them because they are either immigrants or children of immigrants. There's sort of a sense of alienation or displacement, or sort of trying to navigate identity. My work and my own life sort of straddles the Caribbean and the African diaspora. So my father is Cameroonian from West Africa, and he was an immigrant in the 60s. And my mother was a sixth-generation Jamaican who grew up, born and raised in Costa Rica. I also have a birth mother who is Indian, but she grew up and was raised in the Zambia. So I just feel very diasporic, which is why it's a really big part of my work. I think oftentimes the writer is considered the sort of lone wolf person out there in the world, and I believe very, very, very deeply in writing communities. And I think it's good for your sanity, and I think it's also good for your work as well. Today is just about writers. It's about Black writers in particular, and about showcasing the diversity of the narratives around diaspora, around immigration. I think sometimes we get that one single story about what that might be like, and here we have 4 different writers, and to really share that with a community, I think a community that's becoming more diverse.
One sentence poem. Show me the men swallowed by my country who were once poets. Grow me like a calendar made of borders hanging from canopies. War is not a religion, and health is not a religion. Don't hyper-militarize me, camouflage isn't new. Kahore no mawadat. Ask the land about this love. Kadimet af ait atamadatim. Show me someone who does not trust love, and I'll show you someone who has yet to birth themselves. Learn how to eat your own figs first. Don't cry over spilt poetry. Sahai Samanthas, medicine and poison aren't too far from the same thing.
For as long as I've known him, my dad has worn his shirts 2 sizes too big and his shoes 1 size too small. With his shirt untucked, he pinches and plucks to keep it from clinging. His shoulders bob and the shirt shifts, seesaws, until it lands just right. Tucked in, my dad is a hot air balloon. His bubblegum bubble, pink like the gums that wrap his gap-toothed smile. Oh, he blooms.
Every third Friday of the month, he will buy a lottery ticket from the neon-drenched corner bodega and will wire the better half of his pay to his parents. He will send letters detailing the weather, the strange new food, and sign them, your bushfaller. He will leave out the jobs he has taken cleaning the toilets of a Chinese buffet and washing dishes at the university cafeteria. He will toss some change to Duke, the homeless bard, holding court under the thundering overpass, and ask him for a lucky number. On her days off, she will draft lengthy, rending letters to her sister, tapping a mournful tattoo on a sea blue typewriter her father had given her when she first left home. But she will never send them, and only the ink ribbon will commit the words to memory. She will send money like a tithe to her family in a slim white envelope with no note, no greeting, no explanation. Their eyes will lock over cadavers and across lecture halls, full of faces so unlike their own. They will be the only ones.
I write first and foremost for the me's out there, that grew up, in a similar way that I did or had, similar struggles and things like that. But then I also, write for people. And again, that sort of idea that arts and writing is really about that human story. I will always counter the displacement with this idea that displacement is also really fertile ground for creating new homes and imagining new futures and identities for yourself. And I'm creating home as I kind of move through the world.
The Yves Lambert trio thrilled their audience at the Paramount Theater in downtown Austin with their animated version of Northern folk music. Here's how they brought their performance to a close on that evening.
I'm on the highway, Porsche. On va à la fontaine pour pêcher du poisson, la zigaison zinzon. On va à la fontaine pour pêcher du poisson, la zigaison zinzon. La fontaine est profonde, je suis goulé au fond, la zigaison zinzon. Fille en haut, fille en bas, fille, femme, aussi pis là-bas, zin, périgolé, ha ha. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Paris City lui passe, trois cavaliers baron, la zigaison zinzon. Paris City lui passe, trois cavaliers baron, la zigaison zinzon. Que me donneriez-vous belle si je vous tirais du fond, la zigaison zinzon. Fille en haut, fille en bas, fille, femme, aussi pis là-bas, zin, périgolé, ha ha. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Tire, après ça nous verrons la zigaison zinzon. Tire, après ça nous verrons la zigaison zinzon. Quand la belle fuite à terre, ça s'ouvre à la maison, la zigaison zinzon. Fille en haut, fille en bas, fille, femme, aussi pis là-bas, zin, périgolé, ha ha. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Quand la belle fuite à terre, ça s'ouvre à la maison, la zigaison zinzon. Quand la belle fuite à terre, ça s'ouvre à la maison, la zigaison zinzon. S'assoit à la fenêtre, compose une chanson, la zigaison zinzon. Fille en haut, fille en bas, fille, femme, aussi pis là-bas, zin, périgolé, ha ha. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. Son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, son sporte-clé, tout rouillé, gaiement. I got the pants, to piece to bone. I got the pick of the these to count. I just cheese, I see the beans to get inside. I said the wing of the bean, the guy to get the bean, the bad to get the cheese to fool. I put the beans to bone, but the beans to fool. I get the bucket, I take the beans to beans, I stick the bucket, pick the pan, the bit, the pan, the bit, the bone. Hey, hey, Mon petit cœur engage n'est pas pour un baron de zigazon zinzon. Son petit cœur engage n'est pas pour un baron de zigazon zinzon. Même pour des hommes de guerre, que tu peux le moto de zigazon zinzon. Figaro, 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 Sans de clé, tourouillé, tourouillé. Sans de clé, tourouillé, gaiement. Sans de clé, tourouillé, tourouillé. Sans de clé, tourouillé, gaiement. Parfait. Si vous voyagez Hébreu du côté de Saint-Quentin, dites bonjour à mes parents qui habitent le Saint-Guémran. Vous pouvez pas les manquer, prenez le chemin pour ma vue. Près de la maison, vous verrez, il y a une croix qu'on a plantée. En vous voyant arriver, montrant son tablier et dira mais entrez donc, pensez donc dans le salon. Les planchers sont précirés, on nous appelle un marché, un bouquet de fleurs des champs embaume l'appartement. Que c'est charmant chez nos parents, ce que ça sent bon dans les maisons. Vous voulez entrer, il faudra vous dégrayer. On vous garde pour le souper car ce soir c'est une veillée. On est de la chambre des garçons, roule le tapis du salon. Une peinture, une bouffée en attendant les invités. Les voisins arrivent gaiement avec leur douzaine d'enfants. On monte en haut les couchers, 5 par il faut les porter. Quand ils sont s'endormis, on fait la porte de son bruit. On descend le cœur joyeux en attendant de mieux. que c'est gai dans nos pays. Les villagements dans pour ceux qui prennent un petit coup, papa sent son barbecue. Quand on est bien réchauffé, on s'invite pour danser. Dis-tu avec Joséphine, le grand Arthur puis Caroline, Thérèse avec Pognon, puis tous les mecs de la maison. Les violons sont accordés, les musiciens d'applaudis. C'est Frédéric qui va prendre le premier set de la veille. Celui qui danse jusqu'en géant, les vieux sont fatigués. Thérèse qui elle fallait ôter son corset dans son guévant. C'est le bon temps du ricanon. Et quand c'est temps du réveillon, la vieille a fait des gratons, la goutte pantel de cochon, la dossier du jambon. Pour dessert sur la table, notre bon sirop d'érable, des becs de crête, des ceintures change de gras. Maintenant qu'on a trop mangé, on veut le faire souffler, des histoires à raconter, rire sa fait du péril. Déjà 5 heures sur la main, la veille tire à sa fin. On réveille les enfants, on dit au roi en moyen. Beaucoup de people often, ça passe comme ça. Dans les maisons, c'est la tradition. Dans les maisons.
We're near the end of this tour off 90. Thanks for riding along. See you next time. But before we go, here's a short poem read by Shanda Brekke of Albert Lea.
Alone. A frightful word, for no one wants to be alone. Learning about oneself is scarier than a monster under the bed or the one lying next to you. Once you find yourself, a light starts to shine, the skin begins to glow, and a beacon shines from within. New to these feelings, our senses heighten, eyes unlock, the heart feels again. Even then, we stop. Our bodies struck by fear, unable to move, knowing we were never alone. Shanda Brekke, June 17th, 2018.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.